Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Marina and my co-host is Fran, and we are the Hopenning. And the Hopenning is a place where hope is happening when you open up yourself for it. So Fran and I created a space where we just want to offer hope to the world. Fran is a 33 veteran teacher, 33 years. At elementary school age children, and she is in Northern Alberta. Fran is also a rapid transformational therapy practitioner. And I am, of course, Marina, and I am a full-time rapid transformational practitioner. I am in Calgary right now with a massive snowstorm this morning. And we are just very happy to have you here, wrapping up our month of March and talking about creating money, abundance, money blocks, and all those wonderful things. And this is episode 17. And as Fran just said, lucky number 17, because it was just what's the day called, Fran? Like, it's too early in the morning. I have a brain.
Equinox. It's an equinox
Right,
today.
right, there you go.
Yes.
Exactly. So with that, Fran is going to introduce you to our special guest today.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Marina. And so we are so excited to have a friend of ours on today. Her name is Stacey Henry-Carr, and she is an ex-corporate leader who now helps women identify, interrupt, and replace blockers with living more meaningful and intentional lives. She is a certified international life coach, certified rapid transformational therapy practitioner, hypnotherapist, and a transformational speaker. She is a mother and a wife with a positive approach to life. She practices authentic leadership and servitude in everything she does. Her 22 years of corporate leadership, training, and career development have equipped her with a proven track record to help guide others in their journey of discovery. She has always had a passion for helping others become more than they could be. She lives in South Carolina, and she has a self-published book, Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle. And it's one of the ways she authentically serves people. She creates healing meditations and writes inspiring articles. She believes that her true legacy to her children will be the lives she has touched by motivating and inspiring others to change. Now, Stacey is on Facebook. She's on Facebook as Stacey Henry-Carr, double R. She's also on Instagram, and her website is Stacey, Stacey, Henry-Carr, HenryCarr.com. Welcome, Stacey. It's so exciting to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the welcome, and thank you so much for sharing with everyone who's watching and listening who I am and how I show up in this wonderful life today. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have this discussion.
It's amazing to have you here, Stacey. And I also would love for you to tell our audience about your own podcast.
Absolutely.
Because that is just a beautiful space. And I cannot encourage any one of you more to follow Stacey on Facebook, as it's fascinating to see this, that she's been a speaker here and she's doing a book signing there, and maybe somebody is close to you and can follow you and go and support you in any other way. So Stacey, you have the floor. We're talking about abundance. So tell us your story.
Thank you so much for having me. And so, you know, I want to talk today about how people can turn their nightmares into dreams and turn their dreams into reality. And I'm going to speak from just a personal dream that I had, or should I call it a nightmare, since that's what it tend to have been. So I remember having these recurrent dreams as a young adult, and it was a dream of me running through my childhood home, locking the doors, locking the windows, and securing the space. And I did that throughout the dream hectically. And that dream was recurrent for many, many years in my adult life. And in that dream, when I was closing these windows and these doors, I was a child. It was the younger me. It was my younger self that was doing that, not my adult self. And it felt, there was fear. There was fear. I was scared. There was a lot of not so positive emotions within this dream of me running through my childhood home and locking the doors, locking the windows. And one day I spoke about it to a therapist. I think I had to have been in my 40s. I'm 50 years old now, and that dream was happening for many, many years. The frequency, I am not sure, but I just know it happened a lot. So one day I spoke to a therapist about it. And I said to her, I keep having this dream, and it's about my childhood home, and I'm telling her about it, and we're talking about it. And then I let it out, and I told her what I thought that was. I said, I can't even call it a dream. It feels like a nightmare because I was so afraid in the dream, but I let it out. And I would have to say within a few weeks, I had a real dream. Now, remember I said that's the nightmare, right? I had a dream now that I was an adult, the adult and the age that I was at that time. And I was back at the childhood home. And this time I was replacing the doors and replacing the windows. And I remember in the dream how I felt so empowered and I felt awesome. And I saw the matriarchs. When I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandmother and her sister, my grand aunt, they were the matriarchs in the family. And of course, while I'm having this second dream, they had already transitioned and no longer in the physical. However, in this dream, I was so empowered. I was dreaming that I sat down, my grandmother in the living room, and I was talking to her. I was very proud and excited. And I said, guess what? And she said, what? I said, I have changed. I hired someone. I bought new doors. I bought new windows, and they've changed out all the doors, all the windows. They're now secured. But I said, but for some reason, they could not change the front door. I said, I couldn't get them, the door that I bought for the front door just wouldn't fit. I couldn't get them to change the front door, but I just want you to know that all the other doors, the back one, the side ones, and all the windows, except for the front door, is now secured. And I remember waking up, feeling a sense of empowerment, and there was a transformation that happened to me from the recurrent nightmare, running around frantically closing windows and doors, to me now as an adult in my dream, taking that action of changing out the windows and the doors, and even recognizing when I woke up why the front door could not be changed, and being okay with that. And I tell that story because no matter what we're going through in life, no matter what our past situations might have been, there is always hope. I love the name of your show. There's always hope somewhere buried. If the fear is on the top, the hope is right there waiting for you. When you get through the hope, you find all of the high emotions of joy, the happiness, joy is just happiness on steroids, right? So you find all of that below whatever it is that you're going through. And for many years, what I experienced as a child was not good. And there was fear. I was afraid. It was a environment. I grew up in an environment where there was abuse, and I grew up where there was poverty, and I grew up where, yes, given what I saw in my dreams, I would have to close the windows and the doors. But when we are able to look past and allow the past to be what strengthens us, and not a lot of people like to hear that, you know, people don't like the idea of our past strengthens us because they're like, I didn't ask for that past, it's ugly, da 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 da, right? So people don't necessarily like that, and I get it. But when we can step up and be empowered by our past, and when we can step up and find what we needed from that past to get us to where we are, our nightmare turns into a dream. And then when you have the emotional intelligence, the spiritual awakening, and the alignment that you need into your life, then you turn your dreams into reality. How did I turn my dreams into reality? I now have a family, and my family, we're behind safe doors, where I have a home that is secured. I have a home that no one needs to feel threatened. No one feels like they're running around having to close the windows and the doors. No one is threatened by anyone within the household. It's comfortable, it's safe, it's nurturing, it's loving. So in fact, we can change our nightmares into dreams. We can change our dreams into our reality. And really, that's what abundance and prosperity and opulence is all about.
What a beautiful story, Stacey. It's just absolutely touched my heart. So how did your reality change from the process from the nightmare to the dream to the reality? Tell me more about that.
So I believe that all of us are born with a glimmer of hope. It's there. So we come into this world and, you know, our soul already know what we have planned. It's here you are, the body that's going to carry me, the soul. And when you carry me, you're gonna probably experience some things. But the things that you're going to experience is what you're going to use to get you to the next level. And the next level is not about you, mind you. The next level is about everybody that you come in contact with, such as you wonderful ladies, right? And so what I had to do was hold on to that light. Because I remember even in the depths of the sexual abuse, because there was sexual abuse, and the depths of the poverty and feeling abandoned and rejected, because my parents were teenagers, you know. So when I grew up with my grandparents, you know, when you don't have the people who gave birth to you around, you feel like you're seated in rejection and abandonment, even if it's best that they weren't the ones because they were young, et cetera, for whatever reason. However, I still had a missing piece. I still had something that was missing from my life. And what I did, instead of turning my pain into something destructive, I made a conscious decision to turn my pain into something constructive. I made a constant decision that first I said I wasn't going to have children, but once I decided to, I made a conscious decision to be intentional about how I parent and to make sure that their experience, me as the guide of their soul in this lifetime, will guide them in a nurturing and a loving way. So you ask, how did I change that? Because there was always a glimmer of hope and light. I always felt it. I always felt like I was the person that will break this cycle that I was experiencing. And there's another thing. I never felt that I belonged in the poverty. I never felt like I belonged in the abuse. I never felt like I belonged there. I always felt like I was an observer of it, like I was watching it happen, like, you know, what is this? This is not for me. And I made the conscious decision that I wasn't going to continue that. I wasn't going to be that. As a matter of fact, I think I knew early that I was not that. And you know how I spoke about the dreams, the dream I had, those ones, and dreams have always been my guiding post, even as a child. And I started noticing my recurrent dreams from a very young age. And I think it was when I was 10 years old, my grandmother defined that for me as a gift. I didn't even really understood back then what she meant, but she defined my dreaming and my recurrent dreams as a gift. And so I held on to that, because you lovely ladies, being RTT colleagues, you know how our subconscious mind will hold on to things. So I held on to that. Grandma says my dreams are a gift, and my subconscious mind got that. And every time I would dream, I would wake up to see, how is this dream a gift for me today? And that happened throughout my life. Today, you can ask any one of my friends, they will tell you, Stacey often will text us and say, I had a dream about you. Here's what the dream is. Is everything okay? Because I've embraced that gift. So I want to say this. I believe that the actions that we take, if we take them from the guiding post of what we already have, it's very easy to turn nightmares into dreams, and dreams into the reality. And if we believe in ourselves, believe in the abilities that we were given, and watch for the signs. That's what I did, Marina. I think I could give you this elaborate outline and blueprint about how I went to college and I did this and I did some more college and I did this, but I don't honestly believe deep in my heart that that's what's brought me to this point. I don't. I believe that's all the external things that society said I had to do, and I followed along with it. But I strongly believe it's the inner guidance, the guiding post from within, my dreams, my remembering who I really was and who I came here to be, and me being obedient to that, that's gotten me to where I am today, where I can help others, where I continue to help people turn their dreams into reality.
So my question for you, Stacey, is the 22-year as a corporate leader. What were you doing for those 22 years? Like, that's, to me, that's super fascinating.
Yes. So that part is probably one of my best stories, because I worked at a Fortune 500 company. I worked for a company that started in the technology business back in the 90s or late 80s, 90s. And then I ended up staying with them all the way through 2016. And I started just as a representative that helped out customers. And then I moved into training. And then I moved into becoming a supervisor, manager, and moved into different areas, project management. And then I became an executive leader, they call associate director, where I had employees, about 100 and plus, that reported into my organization. And throughout the growth, what I got from that was my independence, right? Because we all need money. Let's not be fooled. Money helps with independence. And so I wanted to be independent. And so going into a company that felt as if it was stable helped me with that independence. And then while I was there, I did the growth, the promotion thing, until I became at a level where, you know, I made very good money, and I had, and I'm going to put air quotes, you know, the status of, you know, a leader, a senior leader. But I may say to you that I was a leader in a customer service environment for a technology company. That's what it looked like. That's what it sounded like. That's what's on paper. But you know what I was, Fran and Marina? I was actually coaching, developing, and inspiring people, not just on a business level, like I was hired to do. My best days within my company was when I had an employee who had a life issue and I life coached them, right? And I listened intently to the issues they had and I guided them from a life perspective. And that was the best part of my job. That's when I felt fulfilled. And interestingly enough, I may say it's the best part of my job, but it wasn't my job description, if that makes sense. I was supposed to make sure that their results were good and their key performance indicators were being met. And I was supposed to do that. But every time a soul sat in front of me, I saw them for exactly who they were. And when that happened, the true me of who I was brought into this world to be would come out. And so when I left, because I knew that I wasn't fulfilling my purpose of truly stepping into who I needed to be, and I left, I received messages. What are we going to do now? Why are you gone? All of this stuff. And I've been gone from that company since 2016. And I still get messages from ex-employees about how I changed the trajectory of their life with one conversation I might have had with them. Interestingly enough, I might not even remember the conversation, right? So in that company, I was a corporate leader, yes, but to me, I was more than a corporate leader to my employees, and to them, I was their life coach. I was their inspiration. So the purpose that my soul came here on this earth to do, I've always been doing it. A lot of people will run out. I'm searching for my purpose. I'm searching for my purpose. And I'm like, your purpose is not lost. Your purpose is not lost. Your purpose is right there within you. And most of the times you are already on that purpose, doing it, working it without recognizing it. And so your question, Fran, was a beautiful one because for me, once I left, I realized that I'd been living in my purpose all along, just in a different capacity, right? And that there's nothing to search for because it was already there.
Mhm. Mhm. I've got a question about gender and ethnicity, right? I have friends in the banking world that talk about how good they are at their job. And I know that they're good at their job. And I know that they use the skills that you just talked about, the human skills, right? The soft skills, which goes so far in client, in relationship building, which is it's all about relationship building. And yet there's a glass ceiling for women, right? There's a glass ceiling, and you work so hard. And people, women that are dedicated, right? I think it's just within us. And yet there's this glass ceiling that you hit, and then it's like, now what? Mm-hmm. So what kind of advice would you give to those that really don't want to venture out on their own? Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, they're unable to, because of whatever, they're not ready to venture out on their own. They're still in the organization, but there seems to be a glass ceiling for them.
I know that the glass ceiling exists because I've seen it. You're working 20 something years in an organization. I've seen it. I've seen where there's a level where you see all of the women as a top leader at that level, all of the minorities at that level. And then you go a little higher and you see less and less and less. You start seeing more of the men in that role. and you start seeing less people of color. And even though the organization that I worked for, I felt was very diverse, Fran, but it was diverse down here. Right?
Yeah.
And then after here, not so much. And however, I've seen women of color. I can think of a couple in particular that broke that ceiling, even within this company that I worked for. And I would say that don't allow the definition that is out there about a woman in the workplace or a minority in the workplace to deter you from trying to break this glass ceiling, because a lot of times, because we know that the glass ceiling exists, and because we have heard so many horror stories about it doesn't matter how hard you work and what you put in and so forth, that people will allow the fear and the negativity from just that statement alone to hinder them from trying and working toward and taking the actions and the steps. So, Fran, it's no different than when you manifest something in your life and you have to speak the positive words. You have to visualize yourself busting through the ceiling. You have to visualize yourself sitting at that table. You have to be a part of the conversation with the men in the suits and the whatever, and see yourself there first, right? Because we cannot manifest in our lives the things that we are afraid of, nor can we turn our dreams into reality if we allow society to dictate the definition of where we belong. So it is you, whomever is listening and need this encouragement, it's you're the creator, your divine creator, and you guys are going to come up with a plan, visualize it, and then start taking action towards that without worrying about what people say. I mean, start visualizing yourself seeing the ceiling broken, right? Open that ceiling, open it yourself in your mind, and it can happen.
It's like the doors in your dream, right? The doors in your dream, the windows in your dream that you in your dream opened wide and created for yourself and your journey as well.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely amazing. And it's almost like I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, so just imagine that you are breaking through it, or that it doesn't even exist, that the ceiling is only there if you notice it.
Yes.
Good one.
That's a good one, Marina. I love that. It's only there if we know that. It's like anything else, and people are like, oh, that's not real though. That's just, you pretending it's not there. But guess what? Better we pretend that it's not there and send a powerful message to the universe that we want to pass that threshold, or put it there and block that abundance to cross over it. Absolutely.
And what we focus on is what becomes our reality. So if you focus on the ceiling, that you will always have that barrier. But if you focus on what's beyond it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So tell us, Stacey, in your practice, when you see clients and they come to you and let's use this glass ceiling, how would you guide them in one of your sessions? Because you don't just do RTT, you do coaching as well.
I do.
So tell us a little bit more about exactly how you would help clients.
So one of my favorite things to do with my clients, whether or not they are interested in a hypnotherapy session, because some clients aren't, right? I still practice visualization and meditation with my clients, because I believe that it's important for them to always start with seeing what they are looking to, what they desire, what they're looking to accomplish, is seeing it first. And one of the things that I always do is a visualization. And here's the thing though. My first step though is to make sure that's what the client really wants. Because sometimes we say we want something, but we say we want it because other people said we should want it. We say we want it because society says that's a good thing to want. And we might not really desire that thing.
Mhm.
I didn't desire to go any further within my company than where I was, because I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. And so many times people would come and say, you should apply for this. You would be great as a director. You should take this turn. And I would go, no, I don't, that's not what I desire. Right? So I knew I didn't desire that. So I didn't go out and try for it. So the first thing I do with my clients is I make sure this thing that you are saying you want, do you want it or does somebody else want it? And that's the first clarity. When did you start wanting it? What are you going to do with it? How are you going to work with it? How is it going to fill you? How are you going to feel with it? And once that client, now I've had clients that once we work through it, actually, no, I really don't want to be a lawyer. My mom said I should be a lawyer. Ding. And therefore, that is why you are rejecting these jobs. That's why you can't acquire these jobs, because your subconscious mind says, I don't really want it anyway. You're rejecting it. So those sessions, they go in a different direction. But when they really do want this thing, once we have identified that it's what they want to their core, we do some values, top 5 values. We create a mission, not mission, but vision statement, a personal vision statement, where they have to see themselves doing this work day in, day out, every day. And their personal vision statement should have some aspects of this work that you are saying that you really want. Once we do that, then that's where the visualization comes in. Now I want you to visualize yourself going to this office every day, going into these meetings, speaking up to the sitting at the table with the big boss and the people who you think you can't rub elbows with, and visualize the whole setting. I had a client once, she wanted the new office and she was going to ask her boss for the office, but she didn't think that the boss was going to give the office to her. So I said, well, do you want it? She said, yes. I said, well, let's start visualizing it. Move in your mind, set it up, put the pictures up in your mind, and you put a plant up in your mind, and then find the courage to ask for the office. And she did that, and the office was granted to her. But before, what it was fear that was keeping her from even asking for the office, right? So to summarize, I help my clients by first identifying that is really truly their desire. And it's not the desire of society. It's not the desire of their parents. And then I have them truly work through their personal vision of this job and see themselves, visualize and see themselves in this role. And from that, we can work a blueprint on how we take goal-oriented actions, because I don't believe that we can take goal-oriented actions before we, with clarity, know that this is what we truly desire, and we see it, we visualize it, we see it in our minds.
That's beautiful. I love it. Because lots of times you hear about people saying, I did all the visualization, I felt it, I dreamed it, all this stuff, and yet they never do the footwork. So your blueprint is actually the footwork
Yes.
to get what you have made this dream of. That's the footwork. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to be there with you as you fulfill this dream. I
Yes.
love that, Stacey. Do you have any other testimonials from clients about how their lives have changed after working with you?
Oh, wow. I have a bunch of those. I primarily work with women, and the reason I work with women is because I love being able to understand and relate with my clients. I love to be able to feel the pains of what they're feeling so that I can help them better out of the pain, right? So financially, you talked about earlier, you did a session or a show on money blocks. And one of the ones I get a lot, although most of my clients have some level of traumas. And that's the thing, when you put your mind out there to do a certain work, you attract the type of clients that is aligned with your pain points. And I've noticed that, right? So although I get that, one of my pain points though was my money blocks. And so I started attracting clients around helping them through money blocks. And there was this young lady, this is one of my favorites, in her early 20s. And actually, I think she was about 26 at the time. And she came to me about money blocks. She just wanted to be able to understand why she feels so uncomfortable making money and what to do with money and all of that. And we had this wonderful session. And two things happened in the session. One happened that actually affected my life, and I'm going to tell that story first. And then the other piece is when she called me and really started telling me how things have changed for her. So, of course, in these sessions, when the scenes come up, they're just profound, because one of her scenes was she was going to have her first date. She was 15 years old, and she was sitting on the steps in her home where she lived with her parents and her two siblings. And she was waiting for her mom to take her to go meet up with her date. They were going to the movies. And her sister came to her and said, "Mom said you're not going to be able to go because she doesn't have any money to give you to go to the movies." And it devastated her because, one, it was her first date, and she just couldn't understand, how could she not have any money? Look at this house. She, in this session, she was saying, look at this house that we live in. It's beautiful. Look at all of that. How could she have no money? So she felt really confused at the time. So that confusion brought into her adult life about money. And one of the things she said when we were dialoguing and reframing and pulling it apart, she said, all I wanted when I was young is to have my own money. I wish they had given me my own money so that I could learn how to spend it. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, Fran and Marina, a light bulb went off. At the time of this session, my daughter was about to turn 12. She was 11 years old. And she had been bothering me for one of those secured debit cards where it's attached and you put her allowance on it. And I kept saying, oh, you don't need it. When we go out shopping, you're with me. We can use my card. And I kept, oh, you don't need it. You don't need it. On that session with my client, when she said that, a light bulb went off. And I remember when the session was over, I messaged my daughter and I said, "What was the name of that card that you wanted again?" And I told my husband, I'm going to set this up for her. And I set it up. I didn't tell anybody where it came from at first. And I set it up for her. She was lit up. She was so excited. And she's been using this card now for over a year. And it's just bloomed her in how she manages money, how she feels about money. She says things like, "I'm rich." And I go, "Well, how much do you have in your account?" And she's like, $25. And I'm like, "Yes, you're rich." But what it's in fact doing, it's getting her mind really tuned around understanding what it means to be rich versus the scarcity and the lack. And so from that session, not only did I give to my client, I got from my client, right? So then the testimonial came. Maybe about 2 weeks later, she reached out to me and she said, "Your recording about money and wealth has been so profound for me." She said, "I'm already buying things for myself without feeling guilty. I feel more organized about money. Money is coming into me easier, it feels like." I have this thing that I got from Florence Shin, where she says, "Your wallet is jam-packed, crammed with money." And that's one of the ones that I had in the recording. And she goes, "I always feel like my wallet is jam-packed, crammed with money." So I also referred her to the book Happy Money by Ken Honda. That's a really awesome book. If anybody has read it or never read it, I recommend it. And she is still my client. She'll come to me for other things now. She's referred people to me. And the reason for that, in her opinion, is that the process helped her to understand the root, as you all know, but it also gave her practical things, because after that, we talked about what to do with money, how to save money, and, send her additional resources. So in fact, what I've learned is that a couple of things. One, I attract clients based on my own pain points. I always learn from my clients too. And three, because I do my sessions with a lot of love and healing and transformation seated in it, I've always get some sort of referrals, and it just feels so good, to know that you've helped, and then somebody feels good enough about your work to refer you to someone else.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely amazing. Yes, I think the ability to manage money is almost more important sometimes than to have it. And if we can teach that to our children from a young age, it's really a gift to them. So absolute fantastic epiphany you had there during that session.
Yes.
And that feeling, I'm rich. We work with feelings all the time, right?
Yes. Yes.
And the language, the language of "I'm rich." When you told your daughter, "Yes, you're rich, she said, "I'm rich," and you said, "Yes, you're rich." How powerful is that, right? I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking as an adult, thinking it's only $25, it's only $25.
Yes.
And yet the language you used was perfect. I mean,
Yes.
we learn from our clients. We learn from our clients so much about what to do and what not to do.
Yes.
Like, it's continually in our therapy, we learn so much. And the beauty of what you said there, working with your pain points, I totally believe that, because we are the experts of our lifetime, and we attract those people I think the universe, God, whatever you want to call that, gives us the people that we can help through our own pain, because of our own pain, and we're able to give back tenfold because of what we've experienced in our lifetime. I think that's just a beautiful thing, that because we help others, we benefit so much more. They think they benefit. Look at what we benefit. Just the self, how much we care, like how much we care about people is, it's profound. Yeah. And what you're doing is wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love watching the growth of my baby girl, and just watching. I didn't know anything about money management growing up. And that's a part of the hope I talk about, growing up in poverty and not being able to even understand how to bring in money, much less how to manage money. My daughter calls herself a money magnet. She says, I'm a big man. She says, I'm a manifestation queen. Now she's 12, guys, and she calls herself the manifestation queen. She's a money magnet. I am rich. She cancels out my verbiage if it does not stand for being rich and wealthy and manifesting. And yeah, Fran, in my mind, I was like, that's only $25, but my tongue dared not say it. I was like, I will not say that to my baby. She feels rich. She is rich, right? So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I would love to see where she would be in 10, 20 years from now, because I think the sky is the limit. So Stacey, in wrapping up today, I want you to do two things for us. The first one is tell us where we can find your book. And the second thing is, please tell our audience about your beautiful podcast.
Yes, thank you. So my book is Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle. I actually have a copy. I hope that you're able to see it. It looks like this. It's on Amazon. Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle. And it is about overcoming child sexual abuse and abandonment, and really helping people to release that shame and bring in forgiveness and release the shame by sharing. When you tell the secrets to the world, then it can no longer hold you hostage. So that's how I view my book and why I wrote it. And it's out there on Amazon, right? And then the next thing is, and I've had Marina on the podcast called Butterfly Effect, Breaking Old Generational Cycles. And the podcast is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I put a new episode out every Monday. This podcast is really for women who are looking to break generational cycles and patterns and habits, who are either doing it and just need some extra support, or want to do it and want to listen to other people who are doing that. Because the people who I'm speaking to, like Marina and some other wonderful guests, are people who have broken these cycles or are working in the field of helping other people break cycles. And the podcast is my way of giving back. And because one of the things that happens is that we may have the knowledge, we may speak the language, and there's so many people out there that would love to be able to get to where we are, but they just don't know how, and they don't know where to start. So the podcast gives some things on where to go, how to start, what to do, who to reach out to. And I love doing the podcast. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to that today.
Oh, you're very welcome, Stacey. It was an absolute honor to have you, to listen to you. I can go on for hours, and I will make sure that all your links are in our YouTube channel so that people can connect with you. And if anybody does not have access to that, please contact us in the Hopenning and we will put you in touch with Stacey. Absolutely wonderful work you do, Stacey. So inspirational, and I feel honored that we had you today as a guest.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Fran. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. And again, Stacey's email or Stacey's website is Henry-Carr.com, StaceyHenryCarr.com. Stacey Henry-Carr, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
So next week, we will have our question and answer episode again. And this month, our focus is on abundance, money, luck, whatever questions you have for us. I had a few coming in already, so I'm really looking forward for Fran and I to talk about that. So again, we are the Hopenning, the place where hope is always happening. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.